Mr. Chachra, where do you stand on this? Obviously, is there a way to get by this situation, or this kind of a celebration or a preparation without hurting anyone? We've also hosted the Commonwealth Games. We've also hosted the Asian Games. A number of countries, including China, which is supposed to be the number one offender on a range of categories, they don't seem to be mixing sports and religion or celebration in any way, which France has. Do you think there's a cultural issue here, or do you think this word that Ambassador Mukherjee also used, that the dark black humor is perhaps something that the Parisians and the French are so accustomed to that they don't even realize that the rest of the world does not make head or tail of it?
Thank you for having me here, and I have a couple of thoughts, actually three broad thoughts. First, I think I want to actually, Ambassador Mukherjee has pointed to that, the total separation of church and the state in France and that particular history. So whether it's a headless queen, Marie Antoinette dancing, whether it's this depiction, it comes from that kind of version of secularism that French people have socialized over long years post-revolution. So I think that's where it comes from. The question then is whether it should have been put on an international stage. So I'll come to that in a bit. So I think it comes from there. Now, in as much as I saw this, and the organizers also said it, that this is about tolerance, this is messaging about coexisting as human beings, between, togetherness of human beings, and that's important. But I also saw this as largely a message of tolerance. Because if you look at all of those that you saw, whether it's the headless queen, or whether it is this Last Supper depiction, the Leonardo da Vinci depiction of gender and sexual minorities as followers of a woman with a halo as Christ, and the particular gentleman in blue. Artistically, of course, it was horrible. Yeah, artistically it was bad, and that needs to be criticized, absolutely. But it was depicting that kind of in a sense, tolerance of sexual minorities, of diversities, of coexistence, and this is important in my view at this time when war is ravaging us, when thousands and thousands are being killed, and we are not in exactly a happy planet at this moment. So I think where it probably went wrong is where it needs to be depicted. Should it have been put in on an international stage in Olympics, where people's sensibilities and senses are varied? As Ambassador Mukherjee was pointing to, some would not swallow it. Some would get really offended. Some would see it as an insult. So I think that's where it went wrong. The other point I want to make is that there is another element. I also thought there is a space for satire. And I won't go to the extent of calling it absolutely dark humor, but there's a space for satire. And we've had a history of satire with reference to targeting religion as well in Europe, but back in our own country. If you look at the famous famous movie, Life of Brian, which is Monty Python's and the comedy group's movie, it takes a huge dig at this very same instance, this painting and this, sort of Last Supper, but with the point of taking a dig at organized religion and the kind of hypocrisy organized religion breeds. So I think there is a space there, even in our own country, as Patrick was speaking. But let me also say that we've had a very rich history of satire. Kabir, no less than the revered saint Kabir, often took dig at religion and organized religion. Kakar pathar chunke masjid liya banaye, ta chadi mulla bang de, behra hai khudai. So these kind of sort of digs have been there, and I think there needs to be space for it. I think this is how I would like to look at it, Vinci. In a slightly broader sense, they went wrong, yes, at an international stage, but that doesn't take away the kind of message they were trying to give. Perhaps it could have been packaged better. That does not also take away from the question of how do you want to sort of look at that kind of flexibility, that kind of space to dissent, to give view to your own expressions in a respectful manner, nevertheless, on the question of religion per se. The danger is, as we know, and lastly, the danger is, as we know, organized religion has made a reappearance, a very, very strong reappearance. And the danger is religion will become a political tool. And the danger is we should not forget the lessons of the last centuries, where religion was one of the fundamental axes of wars. And what we are seeing on our planet today across continents, irrespective of religion, are, a reassertion of chauvinistic varieties of religion. So I think we must balance this whole debate out. Thank you.
All right.